What's up, dogs? We back with another one. It's video 20 something. You still with us? Shout out to you. Today we're going to talk about my 6-part sales system. We're going to go over the first 3 today. The next 3 will be in the next video tomorrow. Make sure you join the Discord because in there will be a graphic that perfectly describes everything I'm talking about in there. So why is a sales system important in the first place? If you don't follow a sales system, you're going to fall victim to the seller's sales system. What is the seller's sales system? The seller's sales system is to get as much information from you without giving you anything at all. They want to know what's your business name. They want to know how many deals you did. They want to know what's your girlfriend's name. They want to know everything about you. And they don't give you anything. By the end of the call, they're gonna say, okay, great. Thank you for the information. I gotta go talk to my wife. Bye. Hang up on you. The sales system will prevent all of that. So this is the 6-part sales system that I use to make sure that sellers aren't wasting my time and I'm actually qualifying and disqualifying sellers at a reasonable time and understanding. This helps me understand what their motivation is and leads, everything. It's a really nice flow that they won't even know that you're negotiating with them at all. Number 1 is the initial connection, right? Also known as the introduction, right? I call it initial connection because your main thing is you want to make a friend. I preach that. The number 1 thing on these calls is you want to make a friend. And then next, you want to figure out if that friend has a problem. Now, before you go asking, well, why do you want to sell this house? I hear so many people, their first thing is they call a seller, they confirm that they own this house. And then the next question is, well, why do you want to sell it? No, you need to first explain how this call goes, right? So you need to set the expectations. That's number 2. The reason you make a friend is because, 1, this person doesn't know you at all. Now you can definitely close a deal without a person liking you. You can do deals without somebody liking you, but it's much easier if you do it while they like you. If they like you, it's going to be a lot easier. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I live by that book. One of the things they talk about in that book is interesting people are interested. If you want to be interesting to somebody, you become interested in them, in their life. So you build a connection with that person by getting them to talk about themselves, getting them to talk about anything. I try to make them laugh, in that first minute of the call, first couple minutes, I try to make it a game to see how fast I can make the seller laugh, because that initial connection is super important. You get somebody to like you, chances are you can get them to do a deal with you. Simple. Number 2, expectation setting. How to set expectations. It's super, super crucial to set the proper expectations from call to call. Not even from call to call, but within your call, you need to set expectations throughout the call. So the most important one is the first time you set the expectation, and that's right after you get that connection, you build some rapport with them a little bit, and then we set the expectation on 1, how this call is going to go. 2, you're going to build a little bit of credibility, right? And 3, you're going to create some urgency. You're going to create a sense of urgency. So you're setting expectations. Your first expectation may sound a little something like, I have 7 deals in front of me right now. We're only buying 2 before this month is over. So I just need to give you a call, ask you a few questions of my own, see if we're even a good fit. If we are, this may take another couple calls and we put some paperwork in place and we do a deal. If not, I'll have my team reach out to you in 3-4 months. Does that sound good? Perfect. And then you get into your questions. So that can sound different and you can make that different, bunch of different ways. Mine is different all the time whenever I call a seller, but I try to hit those 3 points. I try to create some urgency by saying, I'm looking at other deals, right? I'm only buying a few. I try to create a sense of credibility with that same line, and then I walk them through how this call is going to go. So I set my expectations in the beginning of the call. I also set them at the end of the call. So if let's say we're going to get a contract with this person and I'm going to, go run my numbers, right? I'll take a break. I'll let them sit on it a little bit and I'll say, hey, let me go back, run my numbers and see if this actually works. If it does, I should only need about 5 to 10 minutes. If it does, I will get my transaction coordinator to write up the documents. I'm going to give you a call back in these next 10 minutes and we'll walk through these documents line by line. And if you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them. If not, then I get your autograph, we move forward, and my transaction coordinator will be your point of contact from there on out. Does that sound good? Perfect. So let me go see if these numbers work, and I'll get back to you. And you set the expectation again, right? And then there's another time you want to set expectations at the end of the call. After you get them under contract, you want to set the expectation one more time and let them know. I love to do this one, right? When we get the contract, and the seller decides to work with us, I'll say something like, so, Mr. Seller, I know you told me that you've been getting a bunch of calls. Even before I was calling, you've been getting a bunch of calls, and now you're getting texts every other day, somebody asking you to sell this house. Those calls aren't gonna stop. You may get more, and they may offer you more than what I offered you, and they may even throw some dirt on my name, say some bad things about me. When that happens, Mr. Seller, what are you gonna do? You may hear that. You may hear that silence, right? It may be a little awkward pause, because who would ever ask a question like that, right? And when it's that awkward pause, you answer for him. You say, you're gonna say you sold it to Daryl. That's what you did. You sold it to Daryl. Congrats, you just sold your house, right? And walk him through that and get them excited that they actually sold their property and they're actually working with you, right? So I set those expectations again, and I tell them, hey, so Paige, my transaction coordinator, will continue to work with you. She's gonna open up escrow. And once we have a closing date ready in 14 to 30 days, we'll require your signature, whether you're going to sign it in person or they send a notary out to you. Paige will handle all of that. So she'll be reaching out to you shortly. Thank you. Right? And boom, you set those expectations 3 different times in that call. So there's multiple times you can do it. And it's important as well when you have a team. We'll talk about that in another video on how to set the expectations from call to call, right? Which is super important to set your team members up. The third part of my 6-step sales system is problem finding. This is where we get the motivation. It's where we find out if there's any pain, if they actually need to sell this house. Now, I was actually just talking to my team about this. A lot of sellers, a lot of people, they don't even know that their problem is their problem. So one, we need to find the problem for us to understand what the seller is going through, but we also need to find the problem for them to understand, because a lot of times they'll give us smoke screens, they'll tell us the wrong thing, and no, your problem isn't this, your problem is that, right? So a lot of times people they'll say, I'll ask them, so why's the seller selling the house? Because they want to move. No, I get it. I know they want to move, but why? What's driving them to move from this house, right? I said it in another video. Most people only buy or sell 1 to 2 houses in their lifetime. So I'm extremely curious as to why are you selling this house? Now, this is the section of the sales system that I spend the most time in, because this is what people are driven by, right? So I want to figure out everything. There's 4 things that I look for in when I'm in this problem finding stage, right? That's where are they at now? What's the problem right now? What are they facing, right? How did they get here? How did they get in this situation? What have they done so far to get out of this situation? What have they tried? And then lastly, what is the perfect scenario for them? If they could wave a magic wand, what does that look like? I sit in this problem finding stage until I find those four problems, those four questions that I ask myself, and then I go on to the next stage, right? So this is the most important stage. If the seller does not have a reason to need to sell this property, get off the phone with them. There's somebody out there, I'm telling you, there's somebody out there who is waiting for you to give them a call. They need your help. So stop wasting your time with tire kickers. Tire kickers sound like people who want to sell because you called, want to sell if the offer's right. They haven't thought about selling, but if you want to pay me this number, I would sell, right? Those are tire kickers. They don't really need to sell the property. Get off the phone with them. Find somebody who needs your help. If you like this video, if you love this video, comment below. Let me know what your thoughts were. Part 2 is on the way. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and hit the bell so you get reminded and notified when I post on a daily basis. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I've been so real, I'm down to the tomb.